Welcome to another session on the Business Growth Club podcast and Queen of Business Organisation YouTube channel. I've got another guest today, and this is Jane Miller, parent coach. I've worked with her and she's been a client of mine, so it's such a pleasure to have her come and speak with me today. So we are going to talk about parenting, but in terms of business and finding that balance with life, because it is a huge challenge for many of us when we're juggling all of the things. But before we do get into that discussion, Jane, do you want to talk to people about what you do and who you help and the wide vast of knowledge that you have?
Yeah, thanks, Dani. Thanks for having me on today. So I am Jane, the parent coach and mentor. So I've got 21 years experience in childcare, 9 years experience in education, vast wide experience in regards to nurseries, preschools, owning preschools, been deputy managers, a qualified assessor, teaching and delivering qualifications. I've got my own consultancy and training business in education and childcare. In that is part of what I do is the coaching and mentoring, and I support parents to hear and understand their children. So I also am a mum of a almost 18-year-old and
Oh no.
well, in January, so not long really, yeah. And I've been a single parent with very little support, emotionally, financially. So it has been a very, very difficult parenting journey for myself. And there was times where I cried and I was exhausted and I just didn't know what else to do. And I didn't want that for other parents. I asked for lots of different support from schools, different agencies, the GPs, and didn't get anywhere because I was in the industry. I knew what to do, and they couldn't suggest anything else that I'd already put into place, which is good because I obviously know what I'm doing. But when you're a parent and you don't know what else to do, that's not good. And then there's parents out there that don't even know where to start. And that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want parents to be on their own. I didn't want parents to be alone, and I didn't want parents to struggle. And mostly I want parents to be able to enjoy their parenting journey, and deal with the situations and know how to deal with them moving forward. And you're a really good evidence of that. Like, we worked together, and as we moved on through working together, you were actually able to tell me when the triggers are, what situations happened, and what you put into place, because we did that together, and eventually you were able to do that yourself. So yeah, and then I also do autism and ADHD assessments, which is a new venture of mine, as well as other little projects that I do. And all this was working as a single parent, like I said, no other finance support, and having to juggle challenges, financial challenges, behaviour challenges from my daughter, not getting any support off the school, kind of like at despair on what to do. And when you've got your own business or you work, you've got contracts, whatever your work life looks like, it's really hard to then concentrate and focus on actually doing your work.
Yeah, it is. It can, because I've experienced that, haven't I, with my middle child, who was the challenge for me was leaving it at the school door and coming home and working and flipping into that. Right, I'm in business now, I'm in work mode. I'm not mum right now. The kids are in school. It is a challenge. And Jane mentioned that I'm evidence of that. So I do want to share a little bit about our working together, just to show how it impacts working with someone like Jane. But obviously, people are not open enough to it. So I do want to talk about that as well, because I think it's a discussion that needs to be had. But basically, for anyone that doesn't know this part of my story, my second born child is now going through autism assessments for the second time. After the first time, he wasn't diagnosed. They just told us that he's got separation anxiety and the whole family needs to be referred to psychology, which was 2 years ago, and we are still waiting. I don't believe that was ever done. So he got discharged from Peds because we'd done everything that we could, that we'd looked at. We've been on parenting course, and things were getting harder at school, easier at home, which for me is great because for years and years we were made to believe by nursery and stuff that like it was us, and they didn't mean to put that on us. I know they didn't. It was just from what they saw and what we were seeing, but things were improving at home, but not at school, unfortunately. But that does show us that we have done as much as we can to help him. But one of the key things that has happened for us as a family working with Jane is that we always struggled at this time of year. So me and Jane are speaking right now as most kids are going back to school. Mine go back tomorrow. It's September. And we always struggled with this transition. And don't get me wrong, I'm nervous for tomorrow and him going back. But the difference is, this time last year, we'd had bedwetting, we had meltdowns, we had night terrors, he wasn't sleeping, versus this year, he's sleeping. He's wet the bed twice this whole summer, and he's actually had 7 weeks off because we had a family holiday. We had an extra week. So we had it's a massive difference, and that is all as a result of working with Jane and taking action on the things that we've talked about. I say little things, but little things, big impact, isn't it? That's what you do as a parent coach. You teach us and help us with these, and sometimes these things are obvious and easy, and we think, why did I not do that? And it really does help. So that's kind of the result that came out of it for me, and to get to that place this year and know he's not as anxious as he was in the past, because we've had this since he started nursery. It's just amazing to be at that place.
And so you hadn't told me that yet, so that's really good to hear.
I know. It's like I've not told you how well he's done this year, so it is nice to hear that and see that, because me and Jane have known each other for a few years now, so she's seen the journey. But as a parent coach as well, you know the ins and outs. So that wouldn't have happened if I'd have not been open to it. And I do believe that a lot of parents are not open to getting support in terms of like one-on-one help or group help as a parent, because we're kind of just expected to know what to do as a parent, aren't we? But there's no rule book. So I do want to touch on that subject a bit and your thoughts around it, and parents stepping into actually saying, yeah, I need help. So when you are doing what you do, what do you think like the barriers are for people coming to work with someone like you, and how can we get overcome them and take that step and know that it's okay to take that step?
So I'm guessing it would be thinking that you're a failure as a parent.
Yeah.
And actually getting support in any part of our life doesn't mean that you're a failure. So we'll do it for our car, we'll get an MOT, we'll get a service, we will go to the garage if something happens to the car, we will go to the bank or get a financial advisor if it's for our finances. If you're in business, you'll get a social media coach, a business coach, whatever support you need. Even if it's in free support groups, you're always getting that support. If you're at work, you will have a team leader, you will go on training courses, you will have CPD continuously throughout your job role, and whatever other area that you need to get support in, we do, and we don't always hesitate to do that. And I think as parents, because we're judged so much, and it could be from family and friends, so you don't want to make that step into getting the support. Another thing is affordability. So people may think that getting support and having a coach can be expensive, but actually my prices aren't, and they are really affordable. Even if it means making one change a month to be able to get that support, that's going to change your life and change your family and how you do things, and make parenting enjoyable and feel more empowered as a parent.
It's true though, isn't it? Like, I think for me, it's definitely, as you say, we feel like a failure if we ask for help, and there is a big gap in this space as a parent. And even if you access the help, you don't have to tell anybody. Nobody needs to know other than you and your immediate family, like you and the child or your partner, whatever the situation is. But I think that as well, it's prioritization. Like, we forget that we have access to so much more things now, and we just need to take the leap and do it, because it's like, if you know, I'd always use takeaways as an example because we have been in the past really bad for getting takeaways. We should just lazy, if I'm completely honest. And now, the prices of takeaways to feed a family of 5, especially now Steve and our oldest is getting bigger, is so, expensive. And I don't value that, because half the time I don't enjoy the food. It plays up with my gut, and it's not good overall. So I don't like the massive effects of it. So I use takeaways as an example, where I could spend, I used to say 20 quid, but who can get a family takeaway for that anymore? But say double that, 40 quid for a family meal takeaway, that'd be like full out. I'd be full on with that one. But if we did that, and then I'm going to feel crappy afterwards because of the diet, and it does affect me, it really does affect my health. And then I'm going to be gutted I've spent all that money. Whereas I could spend that with someone like you, or whatever area of my life I do need to prioritise instead. And the impact of that overall, that ripple effect, is going to make a difference in it, because when you have something like that you need support with, you get the support as a family, it improves your mindset, child's mindset, your relationship as a family, and then things get easier day by day. So for us, like, school mornings started getting easier, bedtime definitely got easier. So that made a massive difference, because morning routine starts the night before. So if we were all getting better sleep, we could cope and deal better on a morning, even if it was a stressful situation. And it is something that people need to look at and prioritise, like where you put your time and money. It's not always just financial, but and stepping into that.
So the one thing that we work together on is changing how homework was done and the times that the homework was done, and you made that change straight away within that week. And how big of a change was that?
Oh, it was. I was going to say, actually, my next question to you was going to be like the tips and stuff. Yeah, for parents. Because, and I'll relate it to business in a second, because people might be thinking this is a business podcast, but it does relate, trust me.
Yeah.
But it was. So, like, one of our biggest nightmares was homework, because Stephen, our oldest, just didn't want to do it. He was straight up refused, tantrumed, literally ripping paper up and everything. I mean, he wasn't that bad, but he just didn't want to do it. And it became, rather than spend an hour doing this one thing, it was hours doing it, and it took over our full evenings and our weekend, and it just got too much. And it was that we were trying to get him to do it on a Friday afternoon, which at that point, you actually said to me, didn't you? Well, he's been at school all week, he's been at school all day, he's probably just done enough work for that time, and it probably just doesn't fit him well, because as a child, he probably wants to come home and play and see his friends and what have you. And that was literally it. So I actually asked him, shall we do it on a Saturday morning instead? And so I kind of put the slot in the diary. We moved it to 11 o'clock on Saturday morning, so it wasn't the first thing he had to do. He could ease in, he could get up, he could make his breakfast, and, then we do it. And his attitude to doing it was completely different, so that we could actually get it done within the hour. He could get it done, and off he went. He's got the weekend to himself, and it made such a difference. It really did. And so I said I was going to relate it back to business, and but your parenting does impact your business, because it's setting boundaries with children, which is another thing we talked about, didn't we? It's the boundaries so that you can have the time to work. It's your mindset, like transitioning from mum mode to work mode. It's having that freedom to balance both of them, because what's happening externally in life, whether it's your mindset, your health, your parenting, relationships, they impact the energy you have in your business and your ability to be productive. So have you got any tips around any of that, like boundaries and parenting and juggling it as a business owner and as a parent?
Juggling, I think it's about having boundaries when you're going to work, how you're going to work, and that's going to be very different for everybody. So it might be that you don't work in the day and you do a few hours in the evening, or if your evenings are precious once the children are in bed because you've got a partner or husband or wife or whatever your situation looks like, find time whenever that is it that you get up a little bit earlier because you all do get good sleep, and after a few hours, and then you've got the whole day for your children or then, and then your partner, husband, whatever that looks like. So organization, again, time blocking. So we did that with you. You're amazing at doing it for your work, but actually you hadn't done it at all for your family time.
Yeah.
And then we looked at putting that together, and you did, and it worked really well. So
Yeah.
we do a lot in our business or a lot of work, and then we don't implement all this in our family life, which actually impacts, because it makes it easier. You'll have less meltdowns with children, everyone will be less tired, no one will be as stressed. So obviously mentally and mentally it will be a lot healthier, and you won't be as tired because you're not being drained, and you're not having guilt and worrying about the children going to school because you've had a bad morning. So it really has a massive impact and like a domino effect. Prioritize. So
Yeah.
I think what do you need to do in the week? What do you need to do at the weekends? And how, I mean, I've just looked at my environment, like my living room, for example, and I've changed it to make it fit our family better. And it could be little things that, it's not little, but it could be things that we've not even thought about. So does your environment suit how you work, having that balance, having time with your family? There's so much that impacts what you do, and how you do it and why you do it, for all of you.
There isn't there, and I see this a lot. Like, people start then instantly making excuses. So everything, Jane, you've just said, I know people listen, well, I can't do that because of this, and I can't do that. Right, if that's you right now listening to us, stop with the excuses and start thinking about how you can do it. And this is one of the massive game changers I've always used, like I've used in my business as a strengthened my mindset. And it's now doing that with my children as well. So I'll share something that I've kind of transformed recently. And it was about money, because I realised that there's a connection between money and love. And so I would go to the shop, and every single time I went to the shop, kids can have some sweets, yes, buying them sweets. But when you've got 3 children and sweets are no longer £1 a packet, and then they want one thing and another thing, and it became quite pricey that I couldn't go to the shop without spending £20, which is okay if you're not going every other day. So it was draining my bank, honestly. And I'm like, so first it was the takeaways. Next it was the sweets. There's a lot of food correlation here. Food as a reward system, which is not always good. So that's another story. But that was happening. And then I realised, well, actually, I can change that behaviour, and I can change that pattern for myself and for the children. So I was once going to the shop, and actually went to me, oh, can you get me some sweeties while you're there? I was going on my own. And I went, no, but what I will do is this afternoon, we'll have some time together, and we'll do whatever you want to do. And he chose board games. And sometimes it's that instant validation as a parent. Well, if I just give them the sweets now, then they'll be quiet for 5 minutes. But the reality is, I don't get much satisfaction off that. They're happy for like 2 minutes while they eat their pack of sweets, and that's it, game over. Whereas when we did the board games that he chose, we sat there for probably just over an hour together, playing, having a laugh, and then like the other 2 joined in, and it was fun. And I thought, we need to do more of this. And that is like one of my values, is spending time with my family and trying to find that balance. I truly believe in getting there now. But
and a lot of parents treat them because they feel guilty for not being there because of work, or they've been at school, or it's a reward. But actually, the health benefits of those rewards aren't great. It affects their diet, it affects their blood sugar levels, it affects their sleep, it affects so much. It even affects their schooling, because they're not having a proper, So I've just done this with a few other parents in regards to what they eat and drink before they go to bed. And another thing that's really good to to really have is a good morning routine. So whether that's going to school, at work, whatever your morning's going to look like, having that good morning routine will set you all up for a good day. Because I can remember the times when I would scream and shout in the mornings because my daughter wasn't listening and she was late. That made me late for work, or going into a nursery to do observations or a meeting or whatever that looked like. And I would literally drop her off at school and cry, thinking, what on earth have I just done? Why have I reacted like that? She's going to go into school feeling really crappy now. And how is she going to feel all day? And you can't phone the school and say, oh, how's my daughter? Because they usually say they're fine anyway. But then that would set me up for a really bad day. And that's exactly where it comes to, with that mindset and your business. Because I don't want to then go home, have a meeting, or jump on a call with a client or a potential client or anybody else and act happy because I've had a really crappy morning.
People feel the energy of it, don't they? Like, I always say, as a business coach and mentor, if I feel crappy, I will not do a client call, because to me, if I show up and push through it anyway, that is at a disservice to my client. And I really don't like that. And it took me a long time to be okay with that, don't get me wrong. And I guess it's the same as a parent as well. Like, sometimes it's okay to say, you know, I'm poorly, I can't parent today, and reach out for support. And again, it comes back to asking for that support and that it's okay to do it. It really, really is. What would be your biggest advice for a parent that is struggling in any scenario right now? What would be your number one thing that they could potentially do that could help them? Well, I guess it would depend on the individual situation, but overall, what would be your advice to a struggling parent?
It would definitely depend on the situation, but reach out. We're going to have the links attached to everywhere. So either, you know, find me on social media, Jane Miller or Jane Miller Parent Coach. I'm all over different social media platforms, and drop me a message, because even if it's that chat that you need to just have that reassurance for now, and we don't need to work together, or whatever comes out of it, you know,
Yeah.
I give a lot of support and a lot of advice, and I want to help parents. I don't want them to be in situations I was in, and I know so many parents are, and I still know parents that could really do with working with me after knowing them for a year and a half, and they still haven't worked with me, but they're still having the same issues.
Yeah, and it's amazing, isn't it, how once you do just a bit of work on certain things in your family dynamics, I guess, and the impact it has all around, and how quickly things can change. Actually, I was so shocked that result, like, it's like that long-term thing, like the result later on down the line, it does make a difference. As with anything, though, like when working on your mindset, working on your health, your business, it's always, this is something that came up and you found with me, wasn't it? Like, I was doing certain things, like you said earlier, I was doing certain things for the business. I'm really organized, really good at, you know, having that, you know, that focus and that, well, focus maybe not, but but really structured and having systems and strategies. But then for everything else in my life, it just existed, and it wasn't that I was, because I think when I say prioritize, sometimes it's not prioritizing one thing, it's prioritizing one thing at a time. So, for example, I'm sat in my shed office right now where I'm prioritizing. I'm a business coach. If my kids come and try out interrupting me, I firmly say, no, mummy's not mummy right now. I'm someone else. And that's how they have to understand that. And then when I leave this space, I become mum again. And I can say love to their needs, and they become my priority. And that's kind of how it.
We did that a lot, though, with everything we worked through. I was like, and I'd reflect it back on yourself, as you were able to kind of notice it yourself. I was like, do you do that in your business? Is this
Yeah.
do you do this in your business? What do you do in your business? And you'd be like, oh yeah.
And I think one time you were like, if this was someone saying it to you, what would your advice be? And I was like, oh, okay, I can help myself. And we don't see it because we're so far in it sometimes as well. Yeah. But there is ways to get support. So if we want to get support, Jane, and we want to come to you, where do we start? Like you did say, you're on social media, but what else can we do? How can we work with you?
So you can work with me on one-to-one packages. I offer payment plans, and they are very reasonable prices, and you can also work with me through my parent group coaching and mentor membership, where we have a session each week. I change the time so it makes it available for everybody, so whether you work, whether you've got business, whether evenings work or daytimes work. We do 2 to 3 coaching sessions, a training session and a self-care session each month, and that's £20.
That's amazing. It is amazing, and I have said it before. You know, like, she needs to get the price up, but go get in there while you can. And if anybody wants to reach out and look into ADHD and autism assessments, whether it's for themselves or child, what would they need to do?
Contact me. We can have a chat, see if it's actually worth you going through that process or the child going through that process. And we can get you booked in. The turnover is within a few weeks. Once we've done the assessment, the report, you'll have a detailed report with suggestions of ongoing support within 7 to 14 days. And I will walk through the whole process with you. So recently I had my assessment, so that just makes it even more credible for me to be able to go through the process with everybody else. Yeah, and for me, it's not about you having the assessment. It's about getting the support that you all truly deserve and need. I always thought that I was mildly autistic, but I just managed it just like I have with my daughter. And my assessments were high on autism and ADHD, which was a massive shock to me, but actually a massive realization of how much I have struggled as a parent, or I always thought it was depression or how I was brought up, because I was brought up in foster care, being abused. But now it's like all that, plus having ADHD and autism and being a single mum and having depression. And I was like, how do I actually live each day? So
Managing your hair.
yes, but you know, people have struggles and have different, you know, different challenges, and sometimes it just takes somebody else to go over it with you and see that different point of view. And I get people all the time just messaging me and saying, can I just, I'm not going to say it actually because I read your I read your post this morning. So people people messaging me, but I kind of get them to reflect. It is about you owning it, and looking at how you can support yourself. But the fact that people come to me is amazing, and that I want more people coming to me, more parents coming to me, because if you know, even if I speak to you once and it helps you and it changes your life, you could actually go and support somebody else, you know, another parent, with the advice that, you know, it's not about me getting all you know, loads of clients, because it's impossible, but it might be the bit of advice that's changed you and your family, you might be able to pass to somebody else.
It does. It has a massive ripple effect. And just for a bit of context to that, I put myself everywhere this morning saying, what was it? Can I just pick your brains? No, that shit doesn't come for free. Because I've had it recently quite a lot. And I'm like, no, I'm saying no now. I'll give a price on it if you want to pick my brains, because people do take advantage. If we let them, though, that's on me, nobody else, not them. There's no one single person that's at fault. It's on me, and we have to take responsibility for that and say no. So picking your brains can happen. We do offer free stuff, we do offer support, but also at the same time, we are in this to make money. It's a business, regardless of the mission, the greater mission we do that does actually help people and have that ripple effect. So just to round up, the question that I ask all my guests, and I love asking this, and it puts everybody on the spot, but I love it. What would be your biggest tip for staying organised or being organised in your business?
A few: having good routines, time blocking, and prioritising.
Yeah, and they can be applied to parenting too, which is amazing.
Yeah, definitely. It all comes hand in hand with, you know, with parenting, personal life, business, work.
Yeah, it's really good. Thank you so much, Jane, for joining us today. Don't forget to check out the show notes and the description and go and follow her and connect with her and get some support if you are a parent that needs it.
Thanks, Dani.